You leave that and you go to the next job, you find that same difficult boss there. And that's the pattern. Okay, wait a minute. I see this pattern. Now you realize there's a problem. And now you can begin to fix that problem by working with higher levels of consciousness. If you leave one relationship because it's not working very well, only to find the same partner in the next relationship, and the next partner and the next relationship, until you actually do that work to rise up to a higher level of consciousness, we continue to repeat the pattern. How many times have we said, well, I've got just enough money to pay my bills. And then you have just enough money to pay my bills. And every month I have just enough money to pay my bills. And am I ever going to get ahead? Because I just have enough money to pay my bills. The same pattern. And that, all of a sudden, those patterns suggest we have a problem. You become aware of the problem, and now you can begin to address the problem. Or a crisis occurs, and we surrender to God. You know, all those crises that happen. We call them the cosmic 2x4s, which we've all heard about and talked about. You know, it's the alcoholic who hits ground zero. It's accidents or illnesses that shake us up and offer us opportunities to really look at our lives and become aware of what we are doing, how we are being, what are we thinking, and realize that things need to change. So awareness is key. The awareness of those things is key so that we can move. If every day over and over we are thinking the same thing, the same thoughts, and focus on the same stuff over and over again, then we might be like Esau, okay, who's just at a lower level of consciousness. And particularly, how often do we trade our spirituality for material gain? How often do we sell ourselves for a bowl of soup? Now you might say, oh no, that's just sort of ridiculous, but I ask you, how often or what do you do during your day? What do you do? How do you spend your time, your thoughts, your energy during the day? How much of it is devoted to your spirituality? How much of it is devoted to your rising up in consciousness? How much time do you spend on you, the essence of you, the progression of the soul? And how much time do you spend working and buying things and working and buying things and watching TV and playing games and doing this and being on the internet and so on and all those things? Do they nourish your soul? Do they pull you up? We are all like Esau in many, many ways, being very content to live at this material plane. And the call is for us to rise higher, to rise higher. The second thing that happens, I think, after we become aware of a problem is that then we have to recognize that there's a spiritual solution to that problem. No matter what problem we have, there's a spiritual solution. And if we look for it, if we realize we are co-creators with God, we can begin to move out of the victim and say, okay, I can start to be a co-creator with God, and eventually move into, I can let God move through me and through us in creating and solving the problems of our lives. We experiment with it, we do it. We cannot solve our problems or get rid of our problems simply by attacking them or talking about them, understanding them more, okay? Debating about them. The way we solve the problems is rising to a level of consciousness that's higher than that which created the problem in the first place. And that takes will, that takes effort, that takes awareness. Where do we put our energy? Where do you put your energy? How do you spend your day? Where is your energy going? Where do you put your thoughts? What do you focus on? It's often interesting that if we have an illness or we have, let's say, a cancer, we will oftentimes give greater power to the cancer or the heart disease than we do to the power that heals it. We give greater power to the problem than the potential solution to the problem. If we focus on the problem, we don't find the solution. If we start focusing on the solution, things begin to change. Our actions, our thinking, our energy, oftentimes very much, which suggests that we really like being the victim. In fact, the majority of our culture is very much empowered by being a victim. Because then I don't have to accept responsibility. It's not my fault. It's your fault. It's not my fault. I want you to pay. That's why we live in such a litigious society. It's not my fault. Let me sue you for that. This is your fault. I had nothing to do with it. This was your fault. So we don't assume responsibility. We allow ourselves to be a victim because then we don't have to do anything. Okay? I can do whatever I want and blame the rest of the world for the way I am. So what happens is we get just absolutely fall in love with being the victim. And that is not where the soul's progression is yearning to move. So you have to ask ourselves, to what extent am I being a victim? Where do you put your energy? And that will tell you a lot about where you are on this ladder of consciousness. Where am I putting my energy? Am I desiring to change? It becomes fairly simple, in a sense, if you understand where to put your energy. As Wayne Dyer says, you can look at it this way. Okay, he says this. If you have arthritis, and you put your energy on the arthritis and the fact that it's getting worse, what's going to happen? It's going to get worse. Okay. He says, so that's precisely what you don't want. So change the thought into an intention. This arthritis is going to disappear from my life completely. It's gone. Put your attention on the disappearance of the arthritis. Put your attention on the healing, not on the malady. If you're going to find a place to park, I mean, it's very, very simple, but I mean, we do it all the time. There's no place to park. The place is always crowded. I know I'm never going to find a place to park. I can never find a place to park whenever I come to this place. Well, what's going to happen? You're not going to find a place to park. So rather, you set the intention with, oh, I've got a parking place waiting for me. I just got to find it. I've got a parking place waiting for me. I just have to find it. The focus is on the solution, not on the problem. Now, it's very subtle and it's very different, but that's what we have to do. We have to move out of focusing on the problem and focusing on the solution. Sometimes we're in debt. We have financial problems. Oh, I'm never going to get out of debt. It's going to take forever and ever and ever. And the more bills keep coming in and so on and so on. And we dwell, we ruminate on the financial situation. Well, what do we have to do? Change our energy, our focus onto the solution, which is, hey, I'm out of debt. I'm out of debt and I'm thriving financially. I put my energy and my focus into that idea. Now, that's very sometimes difficult for us to do, but it's the way to do it. You don't ruminate on what you don't want or what is currently the situation or the problem. You focus on what you do want. Okay? Hard to do, isn't it? And we'll just cancel that and say, no, it's very easy to do. It's easy to do. Keep the vision of what you want, and you'll be able to do anything if you put your energy to it. Is another thing that Wayne Dyer says, and I'll just close with this. He says sometimes we look at things, well, this is just the way it is. I'm being realistic. This is the way it is. And this is the way it's always been. You know, we have to get real here, okay? And he says, when we start to look at what's always been, it's like we're in a boat. And the boat is going along, and what we have behind the boat, you know, a power boat, is this wake, this trail of all the waves behind us, right? And it dissipates after a while, but we put all of our attention on the back of the boat. And when you do that, which is your past, which is what's already happened, what happens? This there's nobody steering the boat. If all your attention is on the back of the boat and all the waves that are behind you, oh my God, who knows where you're going to end up. So he says the focus is, the wake does not drive the boat, nor does the wake drive your life. It's simply the trail that's left behind. So if you focus on the trail, there's just no one steering the boat. So it means we have to let go. Whatever has happened before, so be it. It's done. It's back there. Now, where am I going? So our energy goes on where are we going, not on what has been. Okay? Jesus said this, no man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of heaven. Put your hand on the plow. Do not look back. Move forward. So we become aware of our problems, and then we focus on the solution. We don't try to deny them, hide them, suppress them, or let them not be real. We do that. We come into the awareness of it so that we know what we need to do to rise to a higher level of consciousness. Next week, we're going to start a Lenten series. And the title of the Lenten series this year is Rise Up! Yeah. And so we are going to be looking at how do we rise up in consciousness through those 40 days of Lent before Easter, and allowing us to rise up and resurrect within us the power and the presence of God moving in and through us and creating.